Wasting no time. Good evening, everyone. Today is April 17th, Thursday, and it's 6 p.m. And this is night 3 of 3 for our work sessions for the budget. And tonight we'll be covering Parks and Recreation, Beach Enterprise, Middle Bridge Enterprise, Kinney Bungalow, Public Works, Galilee Landing, Sunset Farms, Finance, General Revenue, Debt Service, Pension, and OPEB. So once again, Christine, kick us off.
I'll start off with my usual here, that the salary and fringe benefits, compensation, has been dealt with by the Finance Department, and those are all according to contract negotiations and rates set by third-party organizations. And with that, we'll start with Michelle with her Parks and Recreation.
Excellent.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you, Christine. So as Christine said, usually when we look at our general budget funds, I don't worry about the first 12 because that's where Christine comes in. That's her job. But I'm glad to say that, so the first fund, Parks and Recreation Admin, which I call 1810, is level funded. So that's wonderful. That's a very small budget. So again, level funded. Moving on to 1820, which is our Parks Maintenance Fund. Budget. So again, the first several lines are handled by Christine's office. And then moving towards our operating expenses, building maintenance, et cetera, we're minus 3%. So again, pretty much level funded on parks maintenance. Moving on to 1830, that is our Narragansett Community Center. And again, I apologize. 1830 is recreation. I apologize, I went too fast. So recreation, we have a slight increase in our budget. That increase is due in part to the cost of uniforms, increase in cost for field trips, increase in cost for tennis supplies, tennis balls, tennis nets, etc. Increased costs for our playground, camp, etc., our bus trips, field trips to Waterwoods, et cetera, they're getting more expensive, and a slight increase in our fireworks costs for our Festival of Lights. So those are the increases that you'll see in the recreation budget. Now moving on to our community center, 1840. Again, very happy to report that we are level funded. I'd like to, at this point, just discuss a little bit of capital with respect to all of the budgets that I just discussed. So under one of our big capital improvement projects will be the renovation of the pickleball courts at 170 Clark Road. Repairing those courts by just filling the cracks is not working. Also, we'd like to finish the black vinyl fencing project at George C. Park. That project started 7 years ago with a new backstop. We need a new roof at the Parks and Recreation office. That cost will be about $50,000. And then finally, we need a new event space floor at the community center. If you visited the center lately, you could see we have large black mats throughout the floor, and that's because the tiles are raised. So that needs to be replaced. So those are the main big capital projects for the Parks and Rec side. Do you have any questions? Okay.
Well, I think you get the award for the most efficient presentation of all the budgets. So I'm actually going to let Councilor Durkin kick us off with questions if you have any to start us off, so that way I can digest some of this information.
Yeah, so the pickleball court on Clock Road, is that, how have you seen, is the activity there the same as it has been?
Well, not yet, sir. It's picking up now.
Yeah,
We've had a
like
strong,
today, I bet.
yep.
Yeah.
And we've had a strong college base coming in daily weather permitting, at about 4 o'clock, and they play for a couple of hours. I'm not sure if it's men and women that are part of their club team, but they have been using the courts. Now, the group that we see once really the weather changes, they haven't quite trickled in yet, and there are Monday, Wednesday, Friday group, and then there's another group Tuesday and Thursday. Now, I expect to see them anytime soon.
Yeah. So what is the extent of the project? Is it exact, same size? Is it a little bit bigger?
It's the exact same footprint with a little bit of an extension towards the farthest east side, so where the road is. We'd like to jet out in a northerly direction about 17 feet to add 2 additional courts. So the design plan was done in-house by our engineering department, so no cost, which is good. Of course, the project would have to go out to bid as normal, but we are hoping we can get 6 new courts. Now we have 4, 6 brand-new courts with post-tension concrete.
So we have 4, and in the end, we'll have 6.
Correct.
And the basketball courts will stay?
So the basketball court will stay and be unaffected by this change.
Okay. And will that be asphalt, like, that will be put down first, or?
No, sir, we'd like to do it with post-tension concrete.
Okay.
And that way, we can get a 35 to 50-year lifespan
Right.
out of those new
Right.
courts, yeah.
Right. Cool. I'm sure that'll be nice to have that done for you.
Well, I think I do expect some flowers from Mr. Richards. If we can do it, of
We'll
course.
see. All right. Good job.
With the expansion of the courts, what thought has gone towards parking down on Clark Road? Since I know it's kind of a bit of a mess with regards to the pickleball area.
So since the courts were first developed 5 years ago, the overflow parking has always been designated at the top end of the property. So basically where my parking area is and westward towards where the recreation building is. And sometimes we have to guide people in that direction. We do have signs that is the overflow parking. So it's just that sometimes when people come to the area and they immediately pull into 170 Clark Road, they don't realize that they have to go a little bit further to the pickleball courts.
Okay.
But I have no issue at all with this expansion and with regards to parking. There's plenty of spaces to park at 170 Clark Road.
Okay, understood. When I've played there in the past, it is dirt and everything. And people do park on the grassy lawn. I believe there's a fence, so I just wanted to make sure that.
There is, and what I think what the group usually tries to do is, as soon as the first people come, they start to park kind of at an angle, so they could get more cars in. So I know they're working with each other to maximize, the parking spaces down in that particular area. And again, everybody knows, especially our local group, that all the overflow is supposed to park up on the top area of the property.
Okay, I will look for the signage next time I'm down there.
Great, thank you.
Are we concerned at all about, potential frost heaves or crackage within the replacement courts?
It's my understanding that the design of post-tension concrete will eliminate that issue. Now, we will see cracking over the years, but filling concrete cracks is a lot better and more efficient than the filling of asphalt cracks.
Okay, cool. With capital project number 1, which parks are being targeted first, I guess, for the replacement of trees?
So right now,
There's this a comprehensive.
it is comprehensive, but I could tell you right now, if you've been by the Sprague Tennis Courts on Mumford Road at Kingstown Road, we've taken down a few diseased trees. In fact, I believe it's 3, possibly 4. So right in that particular area, we're going to start planting new trees. And in fact, on Arbor Day, we're going to plant a tree in memory of Mr. Terminacy, who was a longtime member of the DPW department who passed away about 2 months ago.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I have a few questions. First of all, just to real big compliment to the Parks and Recreation Department team. You know, I think you do a tremendous job with your leadership, and everyone works exceptionally hard for the services to this town to support families and all of the recreational services. Like, this is a very fun budget to, I mean, they're all fun, but this is a particularly fun, passionate one because it means a lot to a lot of potential incoming families as well as those who are, those families and seniors, whoever is using our recreational services. So with that being said, I do have a couple of questions. One being Cristofaro. I did see that park number 5, the project park number 5, was pretty much redlined. And it is of my general memory, and you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think there was, I don't know if it was like phase 1 that was approved. Just wondering if you could give us a quick update on where we are with that and how much of a cost did that incur?
So right now, Phase 1 is specifically for the renovations, Phase 1 renovations of Dominic Cristofaro Park. So we should start seeing those parts coming in very soon, once the ground dries up, and we could start digging out the old equipment. Again, we have to wait for some warmer days, because once we start digging, then the groundwater fills into the hole, so we've got to wait. So Phase 1 will be the replacement of 3 structures. And I could provide you those details again. That was Town Council approved several months ago, and I know those drawings were part of that agenda, but I would be happy to share them again. And then Phase 2, which I know Mr. Colonies is very interested in being a part of that discussion. We have some ideas for Phase 2, which I would like to discuss with him, because I know he's passionate about that. So I think tackling the playground itself with Phase 1 and 2 is basically, unfortunately, superseding the skate park at this point. It'd be nice to stick with one project up there at a time from start to completion, and then move on to the next big project. So even though number 5 has been crossed out in this particular budget, again, it's not, you know, on the chopping block. We will keep a placeholder for this project down the road.
And what is the expected completion time for Phase 1?
Phase 1, I would say by fall of this year. Yeah.
Okay.
The only thing that really holds us back is the weather.
But it's so nice out.
True, true.
When it comes to redoing the pickleball courts, and I know we have some passionate pickleball players on the council, but nevertheless, I just want to, you know, the way that it's described here for project number 4, it says that you're redoing existing pickleball courts. So my question is, when was it done in the first place? Just so that we know, like, what kind of maintenance has been, like, the consistent upkeep of that, and is this, and like, what is the specific cost of that particular project? Because I know there's a lot of pieces in project number 4. I wasn't sure if you could provide us with a figure for the specific cost on those 2 pickleball courts.
So just to let you know the age of the court. So that particular court itself, the physical court, was built by the Army Corps of Engineers for the Camp Jory over 50 years ago. So this is the age of the court we're dealing with. So of course it's been cracking. It's going to crack. We're going to have frost heaves. 7 years ago now, the courts were relined. They were tennis courts. There were 4 tennis courts. They were relined to 4 pickleball courts, maintaining the same footprint. So it's our intention with this project, again, to maintain the same footprint. Again, even though we're going to do a little dog leg to the left to add 2 more, but we're not encroaching any further into the parking. We're not encroaching into the open land, except for that 17 or so feet, not encroaching on the basketball court, et cetera. So my estimation for this project, with in-house demolition by the Department of Public Works, thank you, Darren, is probably going to be upwards of $800,000 when all is said and done. And that includes fencing as well. And the fencing for the courts, and the painting of the courts, the pouring of the concrete, et cetera.
Is this a possible project that could be started in like in a part? Because I do see fiscal year 25, 26, and then fiscal year 26, 27, and I do appreciate the total being shared, but and maybe this is just a follow-up. Just again, I'm curious about just the specific costs of the 2 pickleball courts. I again appreciate the all-inclusive total, but if there's any way that we could just get a figure at some point.
Sure.
I'm sure it's buried within one of the line items. So, yeah, no worries.
And sir, just to remind you, again, this would go out to bid. So
Okay.
obviously, we would take the low bidder, the
Yep.
low qualified, most qualified bidder. So you may have a company come in at 1.5 million, and maybe a local company will come in at 650, and is equally as qualified. Just, they have less employees, they all work together really hard, and so again, we won't really know what the cost will be until we put it out to bid.
Okay, thank you. And can you just remind us, because again, we're new and we could also have new people watching online as well. What is the current policy of pickleball playing on our tennis courts?
So again, currently, it's first come, first serve.
So they
Oh,
do
no,
allow
I'm
it.
sorry, on our tennis courts?
Yeah, just because I know in other towns, they have those like, what do they call those? Portable nets that they
Right.
can set up.
So our dedicated tennis courts at Sprague Park, so our high school courts, are not lined for pickleball. So the courts at George C., all of the courts are lined for pickleball, and they have portable tents off to the side, and we ask that people bungee cord the portable nets off to the side once they're done. So that is first come, first serve, unless somebody has gone through my office to reserve the courts specifically. The basketball court at Clark Road is also lined for pickleball, and that is oftentimes used in the morning by the group Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Other than that, it's pretty much used specifically for basketball. The tennis courts, all of them except for one at Dominic Cristofaro Park, are also lined. So again, first come, first serve, unless somebody has made a reservation.
Okay, and again, last question on pickleball. If you were to give an estimate, or maybe you know the exact figure, of the number of courts in Narragansett that are strictly pickleball.
That
do
would be
do you know?
4.
That is 4 total?
4, yes,
So
sir.
I didn't know if that was like 4 in that general area down there, or if that's 4 for the entire
Yep,
town?
4, and a total of 14 in total pickleball courts, again, but those are lined
Yep.
on other courts. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Another figure that stood out to me was project number 7. I was very surprised, and again, I'm not an expert on this, this is why I'm asking the question. The vinyl fencing seems like that's a lot of money. Is that, and again, vinyl fencing, I know there's alternative types of fencing. Is this a good figure that we're looking at?
It is, sir. This is a solid figure. So in my introduction on this particular, or during this particular budget, 7 years ago, we replaced the backstop at George C. Park with the black vinyl fence. The age that this fence can last, as opposed to a regular metal fence, is tremendously longer. So the black vinyl does not rust. It maintains its shape and consistency throughout the years. So this figure of 120, if you went to George C., and I'm sorry, I don't have the actual linear feet, but basically it's from the dugout all the way down the first base line, through the outfield and back around. So it's several hundred feet. So actually, I felt that this price was the quote that we received was pretty reasonable. And again, like Sprague Park, we finally completed last year all of the fencing at Sprague. Sprague is completely done. New dugouts, new fence, bullpen, everything, picture, yeah, everything's done. So now, once we do George C., we can check that off as well. That field is done. Besides its general maintenance, it's in great shape.
Excellent. And, the last time I actually was at George C., Counselor Durkin was my baseball coach. So,
I think it was Jimmy's team, too. My son Jimmy's team, right? Charlie O's, I believe.
actually it was,
No,
What was it?
actually it was like either Durkin or Brunetti Realty, one of them.
Yeah.
We were blue. But can you just remind me, because it's been a little while since I've been down there, is that primarily now used as a softball field?
It's both, actually. Just
Okay.
today, I received the schedule from Little League. So that is not only used by both youth, boys and girls softball, but they also have a softball minor league. They have a softball major league, and then it's also used for Little League baseball. Even though the infield is designed for softball, the Little League guys and gals use it as well.
Excellent. And then the last question I had was your comment on uniforms. Is that not something that if sponsors in town want to sponsor, that they incur the cost? So I guess I'm just trying to figure out what you meant by uniform costs are going up.
So unfortunately, our uniforms, that is also a bid. Annually, we put out for a T-shirt bid, not only for our recreation, but also for our beach staff. So we put out a bid for staff shirts, staff jerseys, and of various different sizes. Polo shirts for the supervisors, polo shirts for the camp counselors, et cetera. So that is a bid item. Because the purchasing guidelines have changed this year, we are able to sometimes get away with purchasing shirts and things from outside agencies like 4imprint. But again, we are held to only being able to spend the $4,999 and below.
Thank you for clarifying that.
You're
I
welcome.
was caught up on the camp and recreational specific uniforms, and that provided the clarity I needed, so thank you. Councilors Durkin or Toriel, they have any other
Yeah,
questions? Yep.
So, sorry, Michelle.
No, no.
You blew by me there at the beginning. So I'm just, these things are more important than, it's like, this is what you get asked about a lot. Like, when is
Correct.
that going to be done, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, all right, so pickleball, right? When is that going to all be done? Like, what time frame?
Well, that's a very good question. So again,
Obviously, this has to get approved and stuff,
right.
but like,
So it has to get approved, and then I would meet with engineering again, go over the details of the design. Engineering would assist me in putting together the bid.
our engineering department.
Our engineering department, yes. We wouldn't hire an outside source.
Correct.
Again, it's very simple. We want new courts. We want them in post-tension concrete. These are our dimensions. We want, not only once the courts are done, we want the nets put in as well. We want it painted. What color paint? Again, I'll research with the pickleball group. What kind of paint do you want? Do you want red lines? Do you want blue lines? Do you want green lines? Do you want the base paint to be blue? What's best for the pickleball community? So once we go out to bid, I would say, again, barring weather, possibly after this fall, once pickleball is starting to get cold, our DPW could do the demo in-house, and then we start fresh with a new design come March of 2026.
So it would start after
After this season
when
of
it gets
pickleball.
cold,
Yep.
right? And then
And
before it
everybody's
starts
down in
raining
Florida,
again.
right?
Yeah, okay,
Yep.
so November, December timeframe, okay. And then, okay, so that seems to be in conjunction with, so that pickleball court is one, and then it's in conjunction with Boone Street too? Is it one kind of, when you add up the 875,000, am I right or wrong on that?
Okay, so I don't have Boone Street listed at Parks 4. We do have Metatuxet repairs, 2627.
Oh, okay, all right, so it's Metatuxet.
It looks like fiscal year 28, 29 is the resurfacing of the Boone Street basketball courts. So that, yeah, so that would be,
Oh, so that's
that
just
would
the
be included.
future, okay.
Yeah, that would be included in the 875.
Right, okay. All right, so, that's good. All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Counselor Torialde, any other questions?
Yeah, just looking at the increase, the sharp increase in tennis, costs 50352. Just expand on that a little bit. Is this cost of professionals, cost of courts? Just why has that more
Right.
than doubled in?
So the tennis equipment, so believe it or not, tennis balls are quite expensive. Also tennis nets, and basically any equipment that we need for tennis. There's been requests lately for tennis backboards to be built. Most recently, we had one built for George C. We have one at Clark Road. I'm sorry, we have one at Sprague, and we have another request for one to be built. We would build those in-house with our parks maintenance team and bill it against this fund. So again, it's just the general cost, increase in cost of doing business for this sport. Also, we pay our tennis coaches out of this fund. The coaches, the contracted services coaches that we have, and then also our staff that we have. There's a young man who lives in Paris that reached out to me recently. He summers here. He's a big player in Paris, and we're going to bring him on board. So this budget, his paycheck would come out of this budget.
Okay, understood.
Excellent.
Are we replacing all nets, or is this just an as-needed basis?
As needed, sir, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And 50354, play camp?
That's playground camp.
Okay.
Yep. So that's our summer camp,
Yep.
which this year starts on Monday, June 30th, and runs for 7 weeks.
Okay.
At Clock Road.
Correct. So this is equipment, supplies, toys, games, and things we get from Walmart. Food supplies, we have pizza day, we get the kids' Dells, and then also the cost for our bus transportation to places like Water Whiz, that bouncy place, I forget what it's called, up on Route 2.
Yeah.
Launch,
Launch, yeah.
thank you, and things like that. So, every year that particular budget increases a little bit each year, just because those costs increase.
Are these camps restricted to residents only?
No.
Okay. How many, actually, I know that there's like various ages, but do you
Correct.
know?
So it's 5 to 12.
Do you know
5 to
like
12.
the approximate number of participants for last year's 7-week program?
Yes, we get between 60 and 75 participants.
Ooh,
Yep,
all
and they're
right.
broken down into 2 groups. We have the Lions and the Sharks.
Awesome.
And the Sharks are the little kids.
That's great.
And is that like consistent, like from year to year, like the schools aren't? Is that program, like,
It is. We always have an excellent number of participants in our summer camp. We do, and we never really turn anybody away. We try our best to accommodate the families. We have a great financial aid program as well. The kids do a good job. We have a lot of high school students that are our counselors. Sometimes we have older counselors, maybe in their 20s, mid-20s, but right now we have a group of late teens, young counselors going into college, and that have been working for us for like 3 or 4 years, and they do a great job. They really do.
so you don't see the decline in the camp for the ages that the school sees at the school necessarily?
No, sir. Mm-mm.
Huh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
What is the expected revenue from the camps? I have to ask these questions,
That's-
Christine. I
yes.
have to keep you on your
Hold
toes.
on. Oh, did you got it? Thank you.
In 2024, it was 83,000. And this year so far, because we have the fiscal year, not calendar, it's at 33,000 so far.
Okay.
And also keep in mind that we keep our camp costs very, very low, very, very low.
Thank you. Councilors Durkin or Torialde, any other questions on this portion of the
No, I'm
budget?
just thinking in my head, like, you know what I'm thinking? Like, if the kids.
I don't know what you're thinking.
Well, I'm just thinking, like, if the kids are actually going to camp, and there's like 50 residents and 30 non-residents going to the camp, and that's been the same now for a while, where are the kids in the wintertime?
Right, how come they're not in our schools, is what you're
Right.
saying? Yeah,
Like, so
yeah,
they're,
I'm not sure.
yeah, okay.
You said this is also populated by out-of-town,
Yes, we-
non-residents as well?
We do, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Do you know the percentage of Narragansett to out-of-town?
I don't, I'd have to get that to you later. No, I don't.
Okay. And I think that would probably be a little more telling to your line of questioning.
Do we cap the
We-
total?
Yes, we have to.
Oh, yeah.
Because I believe it's one counselor per 6 to 7 children, so yes, we have to cap it.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I think we can probably move, I assume you're going to be up here for the Beach Enterprise Fund.
Yes, sir.
So I assume if anyone else has, or Council Sturkin or Torielda, if you have any questions that happen to come up later on while Michelle is up here, we can ask them later. So, on to Beach Enterprise.
So I'm very excited to report, now that the audit has been complete, the unrestricted fund balance of the Beach Enterprise Fund is $4.371 million. In addition to that, $1.5 million is in a separate account for the storm reserve. Therefore, the total unrestricted enterprise fund balance is $5.871 million. And that is at the top of our enterprise fund balance policy, which is outstanding. So back in December, and thank you, Dennis, for reminding me when we went through the policy decisions for this coming beach season.
The fund balance is not listed in those, just so you know. Okay, all right, sorry. I thought you would.
He was a little lost in the booklet, so.
Certainly. So the unrestricted fund balance is 4.371696 to be exact. Unrestricted, including, in addition to the 1.5 million, which is our separate storm account. Now, of course, it's all together in the enterprise fund. That total is 5.871 million. So you're adding those two together? Correct.
And
So back on December 2nd, we didn't make any changes to our fee structure at the beach for this year. So again, moving forward, and we're not going to make any changes to that. So again, parking is still $10 during the week, $15 on weekends and holidays. Our beach passes for residents, our parking passes remain the same. Because this 5.87, again, is at the top of our enterprise fund policy that was drafted by the Finance Committee for all of the enterprise funds. So we are in an excellent position right now. Do I think it's going to be enough if we had a horrific Category 5? Probably not, but knock on wood, we're in a good place right now.
can you just give a quick soundbite while we're talking about this enterprise fund? Just as a reminder, because I know a lot of people like to talk about, well, why aren't you going into the enterprise fund? You know, you hear a number like 5.8 million, and all of a sudden, you get a lot of people excited about, oh, you know, we can do so much good with that money. Can you just give a quick soundbite of what it is that we can and cannot use that
Sure,
money
it's
for?
very simple. So
Thank you.
the beach is run on user fees only. In fact, the beach gives $500,000 back to the town for payment in lieu of taxes. This is the only money, user fees, admission, parking, daily entrance, cabanas, changing rooms, lockers. This is the only money that runs the beach. No taxpayer dollars go to running Narragansett Town Beach. There's no special subsidized funds that come our way. This is it. If we have a bad summer, and we don't get $1.1 million in revenue from daily admissions, we only get 500,000, then obviously this unrestricted fund balance will go down. And that's why it's very important every 2 to 3 years, we look at this fund and see where it's going. Is it going down too much? Is it high where it is now, which is great? A couple of years ago, we had some bad years with weather, et cetera, COVID, and we went from making 600,000 to 500,000, all the way down to 97,000. So we had to make some adjustments with our fee structures. So again, things that we're always examining each year. But this year, we're in a very good position.
So, oh, go ahead.
Okay, so then, so if we do have a big one, and the, you know, the north and south pavilion get, or the, you know, they get totally damaged, like totally, they need to be replaced. We have insurance for that.
We do.
Okay, so where would $5 million be needed? You know, except for a,
Emergency.
like a
But then that's
oil
only
spill,
1.5.
I guess, maybe. But I would think we have insurance for that too, but I don't, you know.
Oh, I'm not sure about an oil.
Yeah.
I think you'll have to check with the controller about
Yeah.
that.
Well, there was a time where that was an issue at one time. That was not really a nice time,
Yeah, I
but,
bet.
you know.
So to answer your question is, so let's look at the enterprise fund balance without the 1.5 million, because again, that's separate. We're never going to touch that unless we absolutely have to. So when you look at that, and let me get my
And that's strictly for a storm event, right?
That's the
correct.
1.5, yeah.
Correct. Yep. So when you look at the beach, for example, with regards to some of our expenses, for example. Let me see where we're at. Yeah, I don't think I have those. Do you have those?
What's that? What are you looking
For wages, for example.
for? 50101?
Yeah.
It's down the bottom of this first
Oh,
page.
thank you. So, for example, no, but it's more than that for full-time wages.
If it's complicated, yeah, I don't mean to make it complicated.
Oh,
I
I'm
wanna
sorry,
explain
temporary
too.
wages too. Thank
Yeah.
you. Yes, I'm sorry.
Also, too, just so you know that things aren't covered 100%. You'll never get 100% coverage back if it gets destroyed. FEMA will only do up to 75%, would be responsible for 25%. A lot of the insurances won't cover dunes, right? Is that what the dunes didn't get
Correct.
replaced and things like that? It's not 100%
Oh,
covered.
so that money can be used for dunes?
Could be due,
Anything with the
yeah,
beach,
anything
yeah,
with the beach.
yeah.
Oh, so anything?
So like now we're doing something with the wall, I think is, I forget, what is it, Colonel? I don't know which wall.
Yes,
anything.
so
You know
the
the
beach
walls.
wall, right, so the beach wall, there's a section of the wall that got damaged with the January storms last year. So we've been going back and forth with FEMA. They came in low with the replacement costs. We came in twice as much. So here's another example. The NBC deck roof, $260,000. You saw it, beautiful. That came out of this 4.3 million, okay? So that comes out of there. Let's see, wages, our temporary wages. So our lifeguard staff, our seasonal staff, $503,000. That comes out of this 4.3 million. Full-time wages come out of that as well. Full-time wages are $100,000. So that's my staff that's starting now, Bill Eckert, the beach manager, and then when the staff comes full-time. So all of that, the building maintenance and repairs, the plumbing services, the electrical services,
all the
the sand, all of the operating,
Yeah.
that comes out of this 4.3 million. So it's always fluctuating. Again, if we have a bad year, last year, our plumbing bills were astronomical. All of our meters froze and cracked. So when we turned on the water at the beach, we thought we'd only have a $2,500 bill for the service. It ended up to be almost $10,000 because all the meters were busted. So something happened between the water being turned off on the street and when it came to the buildings, whether it wasn't blown out correctly or whatever the problem was. But so it's things like that. So this, what you have to remember is this is the only money. This is it. Nobody else has given us any money. This is all that we have. So the blue mats, the ADA mats come out of here. Everything, toilet paper, everything, salaries.
Okay,
it's
I
in-
get
yeah.
it.
So even though it seems like a lot, we're in a good spot, but
Has it ever been that high?
I think this is the highest, the 5.7 in the last few years, yes. So no, to answer your question. I think this is the high. I'd have to double check, but I think this is pretty close to being the highest amount. Yeah.
This is a new, with the storm reserve too, that was new. With the
Correct.
fund balance policy that was developed.
It would be interesting to see, just a figure as well, the last 10 years
Fund balance?
of what the fund, the fund balance, beach enterprise fund, what those numbers were at the start of each fiscal year,
Yeah,
if that's doable.
easy.
Okay.
I'd be interested in seeing what the balances were at the start and the end of Sandy and Irene.
Well, Sandy, we didn't have any fund balance, zero. We had to borrow from the town, which we paid back within 2 years. Thank you.
Way to go.
So none, zero, wiped out.
Oh, we didn't have one.
Oh, we did,
Oh,
but we
did,
wiped it
and
out.
got wiped out, got it.
Yeah, it's gone. So, you know, we want to try to avoid that, you know, and having to pay the town back and having to, you know, take money from the general fund where it might need to be used elsewhere. I mean, we'll do it, the town will do it, but we would try to avoid that by having enough of our own money to be able to take care of ourselves, basically, and take care of this beach enterprise fund within itself.
So I have a hypothetical question, if you don't mind.
No.
The dredging project. I'm not saying that this is going to cover the dredging project because I've already had that conversation. But in a hypothetical situation where you take sand, and again, I know there's science terms for that, all of like what they're going to be taking out of there and dredging out, and some form of it could be, again, hypothetically, used to build up dunes. Is there a way in which we could contribute a percentage of the small project because it would be reused and repurposed for the beach?
It's my understanding that the Beach Enterprise Fund cannot be used for such a project.
But you said it could be used to build up dunes.
Correct, but that would be bringing in our own sand.
Oh,
That's just for the beach. The dredging has nothing to do with the beach.
Well, I understand the dredging.
I understand what you're saying too, but that's a
Yeah.
town project. Beach enterprise funds stay with the beach enterprise funds.
So even if it's meant, like, the purpose was
Well,
to
yeah,
support the
we could-
preservation
We could
of
get
the
legal
beach.
opinion on that.
Yeah, no, it just
I'm just- yeah, no,
occurred
I
to me,
think
and I
we'd
just
have to.
thought hypothetically, it would be interesting
Yeah.
to look at.
And I think we could look at that. but
Okay.
I'm
I'm not
I
trying to be
wouldn't hold-
difficult,
yeah.
it's just, it was interesting because I saw that in here, so, thank you. Any other questions? And again, having worked at the beach for 7 years, a few of those summers with you, Michelle, I know what a tight ship that is run here. You know, Steve Wright did a tremendous job. I think you are doing a tremendous job, Bill Eckert, the whole team there at Narragansett Town Beach. It really is not only the best place, our jewel in town, but it's really the best people to spend the summer with and getting to know. So really appreciate all the efforts.
You're welcome, thank you.
Do you guys have any other questions on the beach?
Yeah, just one quick one. So when you're down at the south end, right, like I went by there today, right, and there's no sand, there's rocks and stuff. So where does the state's responsibility, like, end with that wall that, you know?
On the beach itself?
Like you're standing on the
Yeah.
beach and you're looking where the motorcycle guys park,
Okay.
like right there. Like
Yeah,
they
so
must-
right on that corner, sir, is right where the
when it
state property
turns, like,
begins.
kinda
Mhm.
in, so
Correct.
We're responsible for everything in front of
Yep.
the benches. And
Right at that corner.
Yeah,
right at that corner. So on the sand itself, as they say, the beach floor, as they would say, the exposed sand, obviously our responsibility is right to that corner. So when we begin to move sand and redistribute it the first week in May, one of the first jobs from Sherman Sand and Gravel will be to blade those rocks as far south as we can. Then we'll bring in the mud buggy that we have as part of our parks maintenance equipment. We'll get those stairs cleared off, and then each day that the beach is raked throughout the summer, the parks maintenance team will keep an eye on those rocks, and we'll get on them daily and shift them down during low tide every day if we have to.
So we have like some kind of permit that goes on and on.
We have a CRMC permit, yes, sir, for 5 years. Mhm. In fact, we just upped it, I believe, last year. And we want to keep, people want us to get rid of the rocks, but that's the natural cobble, as Winley Ferguson says from Save the Bay. We don't want to get rid of that. It's part of the natural ecosystem. We'll move it a little bit so it's more comfortable for people to get onto the beach and walk on the beach. So that's our plan on how we kind of move it around a little bit, obviously to clear the steps. So, but there's always going to be rocks and other debris.
Yeah,
It's the ocean.
I'm good.
Questions from me on project number 1, the swing gate. Is this going to be an automatic up-down swing gate?
It is not. It's just going to be a stationary metal gate. As you know, we've had a chain there for a bazillion years. And
Yeah.
late at night, if somebody's trying to go into that lot, they're unfamiliar with the area, they slam right into the gate.
Yep.
They knock the ballers down, and it becomes a big mess. So our hope is that we get a more permanent-looking gate there that will be locked. It won't be mechanical. We'll make sure it has bright reflectors on it. We'll have signage, be careful, large metal gate. And I think just overall, it'll make that area more secure, not only for our staff that are parked there late at night, but also the homeowners at Canachet, people that are walking the trail. We want to make sure during the beach season that area back there is secure.
All right, thank you. On to project number 2. We only spend 18,000 on, I'm sorry, 108,000, excuse me, on the sand each year.
108 over 6 years.
Yep, that's over 6 years. So right now, we've done a requisition for purchase order for $10,000 only. As you recall, we put 2,000 cubic yards of sand on the beach last year after the storms. My initial inspection these last few days, besides the rocks in the south end, the beach is in pretty good shape. We've had a lot of sand come back. We're keeping up the sand fence up until the very last minute, again, to try to continue to capture that sand. So it's my belief that we will probably put about 200 cubic yards, maybe, of sand only this year because of the nourishment that we did last year at this time.
Wow.
And the storms that we did not have this season, thank goodness.
Okay. I don't know. I just remember thinking back when I was a kid, there was so much more sand down at the curvature of the wall, down by where the motorcycle guys park. Is there anything that can be done to build that up further? Because that has significantly dropped down in recent years.
Yep. So that is a recommendation from Tyler Engineering to build more of a dune down in that particular area, for sure. So that's something we are looking at as well.
Okay.
We're looking at all of those recommendations that have been made.
Is there an estimated cost on that at this point in time?
I don't have that, sir. Again, that I would assume, if you looked at it today, that's a heck of a lot of sand. So I would say that would probably be in upwards of what the cost of the sand was, and that was upwards of $60,000. So now again, that $60,000 would come from this $4.3 million.
Hey, I always look at that and I just think sand isn't going to work there. And I think we need big rocks, but not to go onto the beach, but to protect the base of that wall, because when that wall washes out, we have a big problem.
I agree.
So, you know, the state needs to protect their side, and we need to protect our side.
And I think when we talk about our relationship with the state, especially the road that they own, you know, right on the other side of the south lot, it is something I know community development is working on with our action plan. Because again, we need to collaborate with them to be able to protect that section, that entire section, and also the infrastructure under the road,
Yeah.
the sewers, the water, et cetera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the capital projects on the two pavilions, fiscal year 2025, 2026, I believe, if I'm understanding correctly, that we would approve it in 2025, 2026. I see one is already a continuation, but for example, South Pavilion, that being a new project, none of those updates would be, you know, remotely possible before the start of this summer.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, we would start with the engineering department and thoughts about my ideas, renovating the bathrooms, building an addition. I've got to see how far up we can go. If you recall, you know, the top floor of that building is just all rafters and empty space, and I'm not sure why we didn't do anything with that over the years. So that's the South Pavilion. Mm-hmm.
It's a great point.
What's the condition of the lockers there?
So the lockers are the same. Again, we paint them every other year or so, but again, they're just boxes, storage boxes, 2 feet by 4 feet deep. Mainly people, 2 feet wide by 4 feet deep and about 4 feet high. Yep, and there's 218 of them. So a lot of people use them when they have young children to store buckets, boogie boards, towels, change of clothes, etc. A lot of our older seniors that have grandchildren, that are watching grandchildren throughout the summer, they like to have them. But of course, as kids get bigger and they're schlepping their own stuff, there's really no need to spend $420 when the senior's getting their free senior pass, and it's only a $50 parking pass that they're paying for. So it's really not cost effective for them.
So the lockers are $420?
$420.
I was under the impression they're $800.
Those are the North Pavilion changing rooms, sir.
That's why they have such a long waiting list.
Correct.
It's because it's such a great deal.
So so the locker is there another locker on top of the locker?
There is, yep. Yep, they're one on top of the other.
Okay, that definitely changed.
Right.
So that's, do you have any other questions?
Yes.
Oh.
Project number 3. What's the number of events held at the North Beach Clubhouse?
Events?
Events.
I'm sorry, what was your question?
What's the number of events that are held yearly at the North Beach Clubhouse?
I want to say 116. I'm trying to visualize Margie's recent report to me. So I'm going to stand firm at 116, but please keep in mind that for May and June, just like Kinney Bungalow, we have more events going on. So even though we're at this, we're probably 16 to 25, maybe more. And then also with Kinney Bungalow, right now we're at 42, but again, we have more coming up, so.
It'd be
And then
great
we
to
always
get-
have pop-up coalitions, you know, last-minute events, so. And we do try to accommodate, especially those particular situations.
And, you know, I know the Philharmonic is always such a tremendous event, just as an example, you know, movies on the beach. Do you guys still do movies on the beach?
We do.
Okay.
We'll have 4 movies, and this year is the 50th anniversary of Jaws, so we're going to
Oh,
try to do something
yes.
fun.
Awesome. It'd be great to get John Cafferty back, too.
Possibly.
That'd be cool.
Possibly.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
What's the expected lifespan of the new floor?
I'm sorry, there's...
What's the expected lifespan of the new floor at the North Beach?
Oh, that's a good question. I think we're going to do luxury vinyl. I don't think we're going to do hardwood floors.
Okay.
So again, depending on what we decide, what product to use, I'll have to get back to you on that. And I think we're going to do the same thing for the community center, something that really wears well, durable, has a nice cushion base.
Where is the ballroom floor? Like when you're saying the ballroom, is that like the main area right in front of Keys? Sorry. at North Pavilion?
Oh, no, so this is the North Beach Clubhouse.
Formerly Canachet.
Oh, I'm sorry, I read that
Correct.
as North Pavilion, I'm
Right.
sorry.
Yes,
I read
no,
that quick.
We don't
Never
have-
mind.
Yes, so North Pavilion is
Never mind.
exactly the same.
I'm
Yeah.
like, wait a minute.
Yep, so it's the main
Luxury.
event space. We call it the
Okay.
ballroom, but it's the main event
Excuse
space.
me, sorry about that.
That's right.
And then just one last question from me. It's not really listed here, but I think Jim had mentioned it earlier, just regarding the benches out in front of the seawall. Is there a plan for that, to restore them?
Yes, so they're already in stock. If you drive by the west lot, they're all there, and they will be installed probably the first 2 weeks in May. We had them all in stock before the winter, but to be quite honest, I was too afraid to put them back in.
Good call.
Yeah. Yes, yep. So again, they're the same benches owned by the same families that purchased them. So per our bench policy and our insurance, if they get destroyed one time, our insurance company covers the cost. If it happens again, then the cost goes back on the original purchaser of the bench. Correct. And if they don't, then we do have a bench waiting list. I believe there's 37 people on the list as well.
Holy smokes.
We have a lot of waiting lists.
Well, that's not a bad thing. I mean, you know, a lot of popular services and privileges that we're providing. So obviously, there are some waiting lists that we would like to try to figure out ways in which we can funnel through them. But anyway, I appreciate, you know, your very thorough responses. You know, I know we have a lot of questions, but
That's
a lot of people are passionate about these projects. So
Absolutely.
yeah,
Right.
yes.
Well, you know, the beach is, you know, I don't want to sound crap, but it is really the heart of the town. It really is.
Couldn't agree more. All right, so on to Middlebridge.
Correct.
All right. Big
So
night for you.
Middlebridge, we have a decrease in budget of $20,000. Wonderful. So no real big improvements at Middlebridge. As you know, the driveway project, it had a fancy name, the Driveway Adaptation Project. Again, it was simply to move the driveway more inland. That has been complete. Grass has been planted, replanted, et cetera. So our only projects that we're going to do for that property is to buy some bike racks to, again, increase biking to that area, and
Nice.
also a couple of the new brown plastic-coated benches that wear well in the elements. And then I know Mr. Tierney will be discussing with you. We have an individual interested in renovating the yellow building and opening up a small little restaurant.
A small
Little restaurant.
restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. It used to be a restaurant. Is that that's not the same building that is being inquired about, Narrow River Preservation Association?
Nope. So this is the yellow building,
Okay.
which is 95 Middlebridge. So 95D, which we call the bait shop building or the marina building, is the one right on the water,
Okay.
near the marina.
Thank you.
What was it called? When it was the guy from New York that ran that. It was a breakfast place.
Oh, Wiley's.
Wiley's.
Wiley's, yeah.
Wow.
And then we have an old picture. Apparently, the Couchons used to run the property way back in the 40s before Mr. Eddy took it over.
The South Kingstown Cautions?
I'm not sure. I
Okay.
have a picture. I'll share it with you.
Please do. Jim, have you heard anything regarding the proposed URI building there?
We're still waiting to hear back from URI on a design before we approach the land conservation. And we did get the gentleman, a benefactor that wants to be deeply involved in it once we know what, how we're going to move forward. I'll bring the council into the loop once we get to that point.
Thank you.
Any other questions on Middlebridge?
No, that's exciting.
Awesome. Thank you.
And last but not least, Kenny Bungalow, which I touched on a little bit earlier. So as you know, the Land Trust will be supporting at their own cost, their own expenditure, an RFP, which will be coming out probably in the next 6 weeks or so, regarding a design plan for HVAC for that building. If and when we get those figures, and the design plan, of course, will have to be consulted with Rhode Island Preservation. Again, that easement is also pending, approved by the town council. I'm just waiting on Mr. Callahan to get me his revisions. I know he's out this week. So that will come back to you for review. So again, that RFP will probably take several months. We'll probably have several companies putting in for that. And then RI Preservation will meet with whatever the low bidder is for that. And then depending on the cost, which could be up there, we would probably have to budget over several years to be able to fund that project. So that's something we'll talk about in the future. And no real capital projects. We do have 2 columns at the building that Mr. Lescarbeau from Abcor is looking at. They've got some rot. We may need to make some improvements to those, but otherwise the building's in pretty good shape.
It's been a minute since I've been in the building. I have been in there within the last year, but I can't remember. Is the upstairs handicap accessible?
We have an elevator.
Okay, thank you.
In fact, the elevator expense is one of our biggest expenses at the building, along with fire protection.
That's great. Okay, thank you. Any questions on Kinney? Jim?
Is it bigger, the expense, than replacing, or is it?
It's just an annual maintenance, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're required to have an annual maintenance agreement. So it's usually about $1,400 every quarter just to service it. And then if it breaks down, that's another matter.
I know, it's
Yep.
such a pain. That's great. The building looks great.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. I know people will really appreciate the AC.
Well, I think, again, the town bought the building. Like any building, like any of our homes, I think it's important to maintain them and upkeep them. And I know in my heart that if it became a year-round venue and we could have Christmas parties, Christmas weddings, Thanksgivings, I think it may take us a couple of years, but we'll get that money back.
Yeah, you definitely need to look at the rates once it's AC.
Correct, yes, yeah.
Councilor Torriello, any other questions, comments? Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
You've been a tremendous guest and very thorough in your presentations. Appreciate all the
Thank you
work that
very
you're
much.
doing. All right, Christine, where are we on to next?
Next, we're on to DPW with Darren.
Excellent. Good evening.
Good evening. Well, I apologize because I won't be able to match that.
No, that's right.
All right? No, she does a great job. So, you want
Yeah, just like I said before, the salaries and benefits are all done in finance. So he can start on all the purchase stuff. I mean, really, his budgets, the budgets for DPW didn't go up hardly anything. They're pretty much level funded as everything else was. I think their total is 1.2% increase. In their operating, the capital's a little different, but in the operating of all those, the 4 different funds within their department, they only went up 1.2%.
I guess my question, as we're going through that portion, is recycling. Again, if I'm reading this correctly, it looks like the percent change is minus 100%. Why is that?
Right now, we're doing shared services with South Kingstown on a recycling coordinator. And previously, we had grant money from the previous recycling coordinator that we used to get grant money. That grant is all done, but we still have a fund balance in there. So we've moved that expense to that recycling fund to finish using that, and then it'll come back into the general fund.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
So, operating budget, like she just said, the biggest thing was staff turnovers, as far as increasing, and uniforms, price increase. Do you want to go line item by line item, or?
No, just a high-level overview. Anything that's primarily seeing a significant increase would be good.
No, just mainly just the turnover, uniform increases, and on solid 1730 for, where are we? 50509. Yeah, roadway repair. There was an increase there. But last year, with the crew that we got, a lot of ambition, we ended up doing a lot more work in-house as far as asphalt, milling and or overlaying. We had borrowed a box from Exeter, so we were actually able to pave a couple of roads ourselves in town with just the crew, which was rather fun. The crew was actually pretty happy to do it, and hopefully we can keep the money to do some more roads. So, and that's only a temporary Band-Aid compared to doing a complete road reconstruction, but big improvement. And
Just ask you about the South Pier Road. Is it, people ask about that a lot because it's partially done and there's sections that aren't done. Is that partially state road or is it?
I'll take that one, Jim.
Okay.
It is in the state traffic improvement plan that we filed with the state. It is a town road that connects two main state arteries. They have discussed with us a subrecipient agreement where we would do the work, and we had it costed out. It's not even close to cover what needs to be done. But it is a town road, and it is on the STIP program. We're still going back and forth with them on that. They did propose a subrecipient agreement, but it's never come to fruition because of the cost at this juncture. When it's on the STIP plan, the state pays for it, not the town.
So if it's, all right, so that's interesting. So that's the reason that it's that funky thing with the state, because
It was
Point
originally,
Judith Road is state road or would,
correct,
and then it connects to
Ocean Road.
Ocean Road. So, okay, that makes sense. I didn't know that. So
Yeah,
that-
when it first went on, it was supposed to be, I believe it was supposed to be started, like, it's been on it for quite a few years now. I think it was around 24, 25 it was supposed to start. But the state kept kicking it out further and further. And now they're just putting the schedule together for the TIP projects, and that's not complete yet.
So the sidewalk on the school side, is that included a reconstruction of that sidewalk?
If we were to do the reconstruction, we would have to comply with all the everything that was grandfathered in would be gone. We'd have to do drainage, ADA accessibility, everything,
Yeah,
underneath and on top. The patchwork we've done that Darren had mentioned, we borrowed some equipment from Exeter they did a great job on it, I think they did. They did patchwork on it, but with the use of that machine, and then painted the stripes on the road. But the STIP schedule is not done yet with the state.
so they want us to bid it, or they want us to do it and then they'll reimburse us? Is that what you're saying?
It's not, they gave a number. That number
Oh, I
is,
see. And
that
that
number
number's
is,
not enough. Yeah.
it's easily, it's got to be a couple of million shy.
Yeah.
And if it goes onto the TIP schedule, the state should fund it, should pay for it.
So we're just
But if
kinda
we do the subrecipient agreement, we'd be responsible for managing the job, contracting it, and we would eat the funds above whatever they propose giving us.
Right.
So we have begun to, negotiate with them on that. We've been doing that.
Okay.
And we'll
well, that-
we'll continue to maintain it as need be, like Darren said, in the meantime. But keep in mind, any real reconstruction, it would be massive. that sidewalks, again, you have the sidewalks, they go up, and they're right by the edge of the road, and the existing sidewalks are all buckled. Some of them are tar, asphalt, macadam type finish, and so everything would have to be replaced. Drainage, ADA, the trees, that whole hill would have to be leveled out, and that's where it stands right now.
So I wasn't really aware of that situation with the state. So I think that's important that we, a delegation works on that too, right? They need to, our reps and,
Well, we have been discussing it with them, that
yeah,
the funding isn't sufficient.
yeah. All right.
Thank you.
You're off the hook on that one.
Well, that's a big one, and it comes up all the time.
I'm sure
so-
you just look at that every day, right?
Yeah, lots of calls, lots of complaints on it, but, we try to get out there and we'll rectify the
Well,
little
now,
problems as
there's
quick
an
as possible.
explanation at least,
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Not always the answer that you want, but it's an answer.
Right,
correct?
people just don't want to hear it, they just want it fixed.
Correct. Do you want to move on to DPW, the project number 1?
Yep.
We pushed out and only kept the comfort station renovations, which is in progress, and we are hoping to have the ladies' room redone completely and open back up for the public within the next 3 weeks. And we also pushed off a couple of other heating projects, but we're keeping, we have to keep the elevator for town hall renovations. It's a state requirement for $157,000.
So is the figure that we're still seeing for year one, the 203,000, is that still the accurate figure, or are there additional adjustments that have been made since, what are you saying? Okay,
That's still the accurate.
Okay, thank
The
you.
figure, yep.
Correct. DPW project number 2, a continuation of previously authorized to upgrade and repair storm drain systems townwide. We were asking for some, and we're keeping it at 100,000, and that's mainly to replace steel drainage pipes throughout the town that are rotting away, and that 100,000 only gives us roughly 800 feet. Okay, we've been doing
Jeez.
Eastwood Luck for the past few years, and we're just trying to do a little bit because we know the infrastructure is failing, so we're trying to be as proactive as possible. So, and then sometimes that'll get changed around because if something else fails prior to the streets that we already know are going bad, we'll adjust.
Primarily eastward look. Is this project going to encompass the other areas of town as well, or is this primarily eastward look?
Well, this here is primarily just Eastwood Luck right now.
Okay. When did that project begin, since it's continued? Do we know?
I want to say that started in 2021, but don't quote me, I can get back to you on that.
That's-
It's been going on for a while.
That's been going on for a while. You're right about that.
Yep.
Yeah, they also did, Alex, they also did portions of Matatuxet. If you see down the center of the street, the new pavement, where they don't pave the road, they just strip a new pavement, that's where they had replaced the drainage under the ground. And they do that, they let it settle before they do the regular paving.
Yep, thank you.
Project number 3, continuation of a previously authorized project. Repair, maintain sidewalks, curbings, road surfaces, via stone seal, micropave, crack fill, and/or repavement, construction existing roads, full funding necessary to match state ARPA funds, and bridge management programs. So this, we already have, excuse me, July 1st, we already have people signed up, or companies waiting for Rejuvenator, double chip seal roads, and what else? And no, because the reconstruction that's going on right now for, and there's one other. And, well, And the main thing is for, to keep our money, right? 70% and 30% that ARPA pays.
Right, we have some state ARPA funding that we were awarded through the Department of Transportation. And that state match is, I'm looking, 33%, which is about 600,000 to our 1.5 million-ish,
Correct.
give or take. Oh, here it is, yeah. So that's that. And we have to match it, and we've already committed, so we need the $700,000, or we have to give the money back to finish the roads.
Don't do that.
No, it was free money, 33% free money, so it was good. We have a lot of streets getting done. We're doing some reconstruction now with
Correct.
Vinagro.
We have 5 streets under reconstruction right now with Vinagro and Great Island, Mollusk, Island Road, a section of Marine Drive,
Elm.
Elm, yes, and a section of Old Point Judith Road as well, in between the entrances to the country club.
I have just another question. In regards to the material choice, I live on Indian Trail, and it was very interesting when...
Okay, so on that, I know you're going to say with the chip sealing.
Yeah.
So, and the stone. So we've changed it up to a smaller size stone, and we're also doing a fog seal too. So if you notice, it looks like it's black asphalt. This will fill it in, and it's going to feel like a brand-new road. It won't be quite, and the whole reason to have a big chip seal is so when you're plowing, you always take a little bit off, and it'll end up getting smoother. With a smaller stone, it's just a much smoother surface to begin with.
I have to
So-
say that's like the first time I wished for snow.
Yeah.
And I think we had a very light winter that
We
year,
were
which
very
was so
fortunate
weird.
this year, yes. Yep. And actually, today, they were doing some core samples on the roads that they had treated last year, and you can see where the rejuvenator was actually going into the tar and pulling the existing old asphalt back together. It
Wow.
was actually pretty wild.
That's cool.
So it is, it's doing its job, so,
Does that save money too?
yes.
Yeah.
You're basically putting a Band-Aid on a road, but we're gonna gain more life expectancy out of it.
That's
Because
great.
we have a lot of roads that have to get done, but without the funding and everything else,
Mm-hmm.
we can only do so much, so. DPW project number 4, we eliminated a few things. The only thing we're keeping is a hook lift chip box truck, just the body, and we're asking for half funding to replace one of our 2013 street sweeper. So, the chip body, what's that? No, yep. And DPW project number 5, we were asking for quite a few things, and we ended up doing, what did we end up doing? A half of a new 6-wheel dump truck, plow truck. One of the main reasons is just to keep up on our vehicle replacement program. When I had first started with the town, the council didn't budget for a couple of years, so there was a few years that we were dealing with no new vehicles, and it was just amazing how those rotted out and just kind of screwed the whole cycle up. So we're just trying to stay within that consistency. We're also asking for half funding for the Vector. If you're not sure what the Vector is, that goes around and cleans out all the basins. It also does hydro excavation, so if we're digging around gas lines or electric, you're not putting a backhoe into the ground. It actually uses water and a vacuum and sucks it out. They are not cheap pieces of equipment, So we would like funding on that, and a pickup truck as well.
I just wanted to say something, I guess the vehicles that we have, down in the south end, the biggest problem is the chassis just rotting out.
Correct.
So we learned a couple years ago about this coating that you can put underneath
Well,
and we do it, and somebody told me that you guys have been doing that for years with your
correct,
vehicles.
correct. When I had started, I am extremely fortunate. We're surrounded by some very good people, a lot of teamwork. And we started off with fluid film, which I had brought in because I used it in the marine industry before. It's very waxy that you apply on, and it protects the frames. And we've actually started switching over to a product called New Hampshire Oil. New Hampshire Oil, pretty much on the same theory as fluid film, but it wicks more. So like the newer cars, where you have all your bends and all your spot welds, it'll actually, when you spray it in an area, it'll actually crawl about seven inches outwards to protect the metal. Anytime that there's a big storm, any vehicle that's in town that was out during the storm has to come by DPW, has to get washed and protected. We had lost a fire engine a few years ago, and it was because of Hurricane Sandy. It took me a little while to figure it out, but they were out. Nobody really washed anything down. Nobody was thinking about it, but the frame ended up going bad on it.
Sure.
Cracking, so there's a lot of money. But all the departments are very on board, and yes, we do a lot of, we're very proactive to try to protect, on an average, or if I had to guess, I'd say probably close to $25 million worth of equipment the town owns. So vehicles, equipment,
So you do that to every vehicle that
Yes.
the town owns?
yes.
Including the police vehicles and the fire?
Correct.
That's-
Fire, we don't do the rescues because of the smell. But the fire trucks, police cars, any equipment that's out during that time.
Yeah.
School buses,
Yeah. That's great.
yes.
On project number 4, what's the life expectancy of a street sweeper?
It depends on who builds it. Now, realistically, 10 years, but because we, like I said, we are extremely proactive and do a lot of stuff, we seem to be getting more years out of vehicles and equipments. So, but realistically, even brand-new items still break right out of the box. So,
Lovely.
yeah, it's awesome, you know?
For some of our older trucks and vehicles, we auction these off, right? Try and
Correct,
recoup?
they go through gov deals. Yes,
Okay.
yep,
All right, thanks.
you're welcome.
Actually, Christine, do you know the amount that we, return on these DPW vehicles?
It really depends on the condition. I can get back to you on like what we brought in this year. With everything that we sell on Gov Deals, it might be, I'm not even going to guess. It's not a huge chunk of money, it's not going to save the world, but
Yeah.
we do get some money in. I can get you that at some point.
And you don't have to dispose of it, so it saves money that way too, right?
Yes.
Correct.
I'm going to look over here. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Is there a particular line item for the vehicle insurance on all of these different vehicles?
That would be through the trust,
Yes, that's a town-wide thing, so
Okay.
it's
correct?
a little bit
All included in there? All right,
further. Yeah, it's under the-
not there yet.
Yeah, you made me think about it for a minute.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, gotta keep you on your toes.
Yes.
Um, So does anyone have any other questions? Excellent. Well, really appreciate you coming out here. And maybe do you have another budget that you're presenting on? All right,
Nope, I don't.
Excellent.
think
No,
so.
I'll take on road bond a little later on.
Okay.
Usually he talks about road bond, but it's really not in their realm.
With
It's
my
more
money,
you and-
yeah.
yeah. You get to spend it if we get it.
Yes, that's right.
Well,
We
thank
gotta
you,
get it
and
first.
thank you and all of your staff for your service to this town. It's really tremendously appreciated.
Appreciate your time, too. Thank you, Darren.
Thank you.
Thanks, Darren.
Ah, little old me. So before we get into the finance, we have a couple of outliers here. We have the Galilee Landing Fund. It's a special fund in the general fund. And obviously, that's for Galilee Landing. And that usually pays for the CSOs down there, the police details, solid waste disposal. And then there's usually a little money, 15 to 16,000, that's used for planters and decorating down there. We get the revenue from the ferry. We get a small amount from their admin fees, admission fees, I guess. So we just got the check the other day. It's $140,000. So that went up a little bit. In 2024, we got $136,000. So it depends on, the summer and how many people ride the ferry.
Jim, when was the last time, does that get increased by,
There was an agreement signed, I believe, in 2001,
yeah,
and it was set at 35 cents, where every passenger paid a 35-cent landing fee that was included in the purchase of their ticket. And for that, the contract provided a list of the services that the town would provide down there. And it was 2 years ago, I went to the General Assembly to get an increase, and they wouldn't increase it the full amount that we requested, but we are now at 50 cents from 35, and we're even with New Shoreham. And the plan was at the time that after 2 or 3 years goes by, that Narragansett and New Shoreham would, united, go up to the State House and ask for an increase on both sides. So it's 50 on each side, and they re-signed the contract when it went up to the 50 cents. But it hadn't changed in 20-some-odd years.
yeah. It's a pretty good history to that little,
Yeah, I read it.
What was the initial ask? If you
Yeah.
guys settled on 50?
I think we started off at 70 or 75, and finally, legal counsel for Interstate said at 50 they would not support, and they also would not oppose. And that's what they told the legislature, and they approved it.
So I have another question. Assuming we didn't interrupt the complete, do you have anything else that you want to add for Galilee?
There's not a lot. Yeah, it's a
So
small fund.
you had mentioned CSOs. I thought that was covered under the police budget.
The majority of them are, but there's a few that work down at Galilee Landing, and those are funded through this.
Okay, so
Fund.
that's just how you've broken it up.
Exactly,
So like those that report
exactly.
down there. Okay.
There's not that many. I forget how many go down there, but yeah.
Are they?
I see them down there.
Yeah, no, I do too. I regularly writing up tickets. The CSOs that are stationed down there, are they usually stationed there for the duration of the summer? Or, because this is where I get confused. Because if we're paying for CSOs out of the police's budget for every other part of town, except for those, how do you go about figuring out where the CSOs are stationed to designate which fund
Christine, do you want me
it
to take
comes
that?
out of?
The assignment of the CSOs is to administrative function of the police department. They
Right.
advise us what hours are applicable to the Galilee landing fee. And
Okay.
also paid out of the Galilee landing fee. You see the detail officers, the constables working at the ferry, they're also covered under that.
So do they control, so with their advisement, they will provide the, percentage or whatever the deduction is out of whichever portion of the budget. So they are the ones who are regulating.
They administer it and they.
Okay.
It gets, designated to a, 0505,
Okay.
50102 or 103 or,
Thank
and
you.
then they'll be charged to that account every time they get paid.
It's so that when the officers have a differential, we don't We don't know they get a differential, what shift they're on.
Right,
The police
okay.
department administratively notifies us which ones get the differential, and we just pay it.
Okay. Is there any reason why it just wouldn't be rolled up into the, just all into the police?
Well, this fund is set up as a special revenue within the general fund, so it
Okay.
gets its own
So
revenue.
there is perks
So then
with
we
that.
keep the.
Okay.
Yeah.
It saves the
Thank you.
police department money from the
Yep,
general.
no, that makes
Saves
sense.
the PD money
Yep.
from the general budget.
Thank you. I knew there was
No, that's, yeah.
the added asterisk, so thank you. So that's all I have for Galley. Any other questions?
I don't know, I feel 50 cents is cheap money.
No, I agree.
I mean, it seems like historically cheap. I think when Brian and Maury took that boat ride, it was 15 cents, wasn't it? What was the number they created?
It might
there?
have been 15 at the beginning, or it might have been 35, I don't recall.
Yeah.
It was at 35 when I went to the General Assembly to have it increased.
And like, was that before, like, the policemen were jumping out of the boats onto the ferry, and was that,
That was, I think, the first season, maybe.
yeah?
It's been it's been 2 years.
Yeah, because there's a lot of, I mean, we support that business quite a bit. and it's-
Well, the discussion with the previous administration over in Block Island was that we would wait at least 2 years, because we wanted to see the revenue also, to see whether it would cover it if we needed more.
Seems like it went up, right? So that must have been the revenue of the boat itself, because we got more this year with no
We did.
increase, right?
Yeah, we know, the increase went into place a couple of years ago. So for 2 years, we've received the increase from the 35 cents to the 50.
Oh, okay.
Because we did see the account starting to shrink, and especially during COVID, there were less people traveling.
Right,
and
okay, yeah.
it pummeled, But we probably will approach the legislature next year, the next session, with Block Island and try to increase it
Yeah.
on both sides.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I
when we
think
do
that'd
that,
be good.
we'll ask the council to draft a resolution for that.
That increase was about 30 to 35,000 additional revenue from what was before the 50 cents to the 35 to the 50.
The 15 would bring in 40.
It was about 30,
Yeah.
35,000.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if we could get something for the number of cars that are parking down there.
Well, we
It's-
are. I
it's
think
just-
we are.
There is a law going.
There is
before
a
the-
piece of enabling legislation
Yes.
which
Oh, well, all right.
is held for further study right now, but I will be approaching the council again. I've sent you the information on it,
Ah,
I believe.
okay.
Well, maybe we should take a little ride up there,
It's for certain, if it would, enabling legislation would give municipalities the ability to impose up to a 7% tax for parking in their community, for paid parking lots. I'm sure that will be amended to say, to exclude any, state beach and parks. I'm sure that'll happen. But primarily, that would apply to just the parking that's all down in Galilee for the ferry.
Well, this is really great news. I think that's going to perk a lot of ears in the community, so thank you for sharing that. And hopefully it doesn't just sit and study that I also, I know how fast the state moves, but, it's just a matter of picking and choosing which projects to focus on. But that one, I think, would be a tremendous benefit. So, any other questions on this one?
No, I'm good.
All right, thank you.
Just so you know, back on the general insurance, it's all lumped in one sum. So I could get you a separate amount. I think you asked, did you
No,
ask
I
for the
think
insurance?
Alex
or-
asked.
Oh, just the
Alex, I went
vehicle
right around
insurance.
you.
No, that's right.
They just don't have it separated in the budget.
Thank you.
Okay, nothing else on Galilee? We're
Nope.
good? Okay. Just quickly on Sunset Farms, it does not generate any funds. So we're probably going to have to make an allocation this year. It just pays for general insurance and purchased water. And we just have to fund it. There's no revenue. I'm not quite sure why it continues to be set up like this, but that's how it's set up, and we have to pay it. So,
Well, this was something that did come up as well, was you made a comment that it says it does not generate revenue, but it's a tremendous service to the town.
right.
So, I know they do an amazing job down there at Sunset Farms. Great marketing, and all of the products that they're producing is just a tremendous service to our community, and people come all over to, visit Kinney Bungalow, visit Sunset Farms, but, that definitely has been a intrigue of mine. And I know this agreement's gone on for well before any time that I can imagine, but it is interesting that there is no revenue generated
Right,
in
and,
that sense to
you know,
this.
could it, right, why is it separate? I don't know. But for
Okay.
now,
Well, there's a lease, right?
Right, that's like the agreement that I was referring to, so.
right.
So I can't really speak to the history of that lease, but I just, that always was a bit of a surprise, but anyway,
It's
again,
not a
grateful.
lot. I mean, it's, about 4,500 a year.
Oh, yeah, I know, this is right there with
It's
the
just-
special allocations from day one,
Right.
so,
So it's $4,500 a year $4,500 a year for water?
And general insurance, insurance and.
Oh,
and the
insurance on
water.
the farm. And you pay it to the interlocal trust or
Yes.
something? Huh. Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. Look at that, right on cue. All right, so now we'll go to finance.
Oh,
Here comes the PowerPoint. So this is just a little chart of the finance department, accounting, tax collection, tax assessor. We also do investment and debt service, pension and OPEB, just to say a few things there. We have 11 staff members. We have one clerk that's split between tax collection and tax assessor, 50/50. Overall, our budget decreased by 8.5%. And if you want me to go through this a little bit, we have 1310, which is finance. That went up 0.6%. No really big changes there, except for compensation. 1320 is general accounting. That went up 0.2%. And really, the only increase was the audit amount that we get. It goes up every year a little bit for the audit. And then
Every year, or do
No.
we use the same auditor every year?
every 3 years, we go out to bid.
Oh, so it might change or
It might
not.
change, yeah, it might not. 1330 is tax collection. That went down almost a whole percent. That is mostly due to change in staff turnover. 1340 is tax assessor. That went down 8.5%, and that is because staff turnover. And the revaluation dollar amount was not needed. And we cut that one clerk position that was put in light of the tax structure changes that were being talked about. So we had put in a position to look at leases if they were going to do something with yearly rentals. But that never came to fruition, so we cut that. And that is it for finance. Do you have any questions?
So do you see that, like, all the new technology that comes along, do you see that, maybe it's for the town manager, but maybe it's both of you, but like, I don't know, do we have less employee, so the technology, does it turn into like less employees, or is there a shift, do you see a shift happening where the more technology we have, the lesser amount of work hours we have, or does it not one help
No,
the other?
The number of work hours remains consistent, and it increases for many. The staffing has been fairly consistent. I've been here for 5.5+ years. It's fairly consistent. What we do see an increase in is municipalities and the public rely on technology. Sometimes there's shared technological services with many communities in the state. Some things are mandated that we have to do. So what we do see, we see an increase in the costs of these multiple maintenance agreements that we have to maintain for technology. And they have you over a barrel. It's like Motorola. They're the only show in town for the radio systems. And every year you get the maintenance agreement, or every 3 years you get the maintenance agreement. And the the systems in finance and in IT, all the programs they have, every one of them has a maintenance agreement, and their cost continues to increase. But they're necessary for us. One, to get the job done efficiently. People use technology all the time, and of course, we have to have a secure system.
Do you see in the future people maybe working from home where the technology allows them to do their work that they do here, where we don't have to have such a large...
This should be a very long discussion for another evening. But, yeah, there are times that staff, on occasion, will work from home.
Yeah.
It's permitted, but...
It is permitted. Is it encouraged? Is it discouraged?
People have to come to work.
Yeah.
There have been things worked out with human resources that are personnel related that I can't discuss.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I always wonder.
Yeah, times are changing.
If the technology helps with that or hurts.
But
with
it
that.
hasn't decreased, the amount of technology has not decreased our staff.
Yeah.
No.
It
Just brings on different issues.
Yeah, yes.
Right. No, I understand being, trying to keep up with technology. It's
Yeah,
It's
we
a
get a lot
little
of
more.
questions. Even now, we went with the utility billing, and
Right.
a lot of confusion, so.
Yeah.
Now we're walking people through how to set up an account and things like that.
Yeah.
It's always something.
Yeah.
So we really can't cut it too much less, because if one person's out, then now you have nobody, and you're going to shut down an office,
Right.
like tax collection.
Right.
We are on a
We're
fairly
pretty
bare
tight.
bones for staff. You walk to the clerk's office any day, everyone, boom, busy. Finance office, boom, busy all day. It's every day.
I even know how to take taxes. Anything else?
Hope that helps.
Any other questions?
No, I'm good. I think everything's good, that I see. I just, wonder sometimes,
Councilor Torelli, any questions? Again, a very thorough presentation. I think you covered it very nicely and summed it up very well.
Thank you. Okay, now we can move on to revenues, general revenues. So those are all the objects that start with the 4. As you can see, without going through all of them, the majority is from our taxes and our pilots, which we collect those from the enterprise funds. So water, wastewater, and the beach, they all pay us pilot payment in lieu of taxes and admin fees for handling payroll and such. And then state aid is 5%, and then the rest is just pennies, really. State aid right now is still a projected amount. We don't have final amounts, so that could change. Hopefully not at the last minute.
When is a decision expected?
Whenever they pass.
Of course.
Hopefully not 2 hours before our meeting. I don't know if you want to give it a look over and see if you have any questions.
Is there any way that we can get whatever the final budget, or when we go into the first hearing, a general slide as it stands going into that hearing, this slide? I know you guys do a tremendous job at sharing everything with the town council. Just this slide in particular would be very helpful.
Separate with,
Yeah.
for you? Yeah.
That'd be great, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, can I ask you about interest, like?
Yeah, we're
so
doing
that's-
great.
Oh, yeah? You probably have a lot of numbers on that, right?
We are. We're doing really well.
All right, so obviously we have funds, and we have funds that we're not using, and you put it in the bank, I assume, and so what is, like, for the last fiscal year, what was the percentage that we received on our funds in interest from, you know what I mean? Like, did we get 4% return? Did we get 5%? Do you know it like that, possibly, or?
I'm thinking, I don't want to guess. I
Yeah.
can get back to you. It was good. It was decent, though. It was
Around that?
5,
Yeah,
ish.
5-ish?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And obviously, it has to be safe,
right.
right? Actual, but then we have an investment policy statement for the general fund.
Yeah,
We have 3 tiers. So we have the stuff that's in the bank, floating money, it's about 25%. And then we have another 25 to 35% in 1 to 3 year, and then a 3 to 7.
yeah,
So those obviously are still invested,
yeah.
but like you can see back in 2024, on 49033, we brought in 1.5 million. And this year, well, it says 1.6, but that has to be then, at the end of the year, we distribute it over every account that has cash balance. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it all
right.
goes
So
here
you
for
split it
now.
all up, yeah.
Yeah, so actually, in 2024, we brought in more than 1.4 million. That's what the general fund kept. And everything else is distributed to water, beach, wastewater, Galilee Landing, whoever, the library, whoever had money, cash in their account at the end of the fiscal year. I can get you a percentage of.
It's okay, I just,
He's coming to the Finance Committee on June.
Oh, okay, yep. We have a problem getting a quorum, I guess, but sometimes, yeah, so.
But he is coming on the June meeting.
Oh, that's right.
Yes.
That's right, he's on the agenda.
Yes.
Right, yeah, okay, yeah, great.
He'd come here too if you'd
Yeah,
want.
I'll ask him.
He's way better than I am.
Yeah, I don't know. So we'll see.
Any other questions?
Counselor Torralde, any questions?
Could you please just explain for me the pilots, 49065 through 49069?
Right, so that's the beach pilot housing. They give us it's like a little rent, I guess, for the room here of $1,500. This is the charter pilot is Montessori? Clark? What's the name of it up there? Clark?
Monsignor Clark?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's an agreement that's been around for a little bit. Water pilot, again, that's payment in lieu of taxes, so they have tangibles and such, so every 3 years when we go through a reval, that changes. Water, wastewater, beach. That's it, that's all I have to say.
What is RIHEBC?
Ryback, so that's some funding through, with education when they go out to bond. It stays on our books, and then we get a reimbursement. Rhode Island Housing and Education Building, blah.
Yeah,
That's pretty
Corporation
close,
or
yeah.
something.
a lot of letters.
What is 49115, cannabis?
Oh, I don't know. That came in from somebody, cannabis, I don't know. Did somebody sell some? I mean, it's under $200.
Yeah.
The state sends it to us. I don't know.
It's also, it's flat too,
Eh,
so.
Must have been the previous council.
And then, did we even get that far ahead in your presentation?
Which one?
The hotel tax?
Right there? That's on 49111, second page.
Yeah, so this is, I know there's a lot of moving parts with the hotel tax, and a lot of different things are being proposed.
Right.
So, I guess my question is, on this 6% difference, like, how did you go about coming up with that number?
That's their projections. That
The
comes
states?
from the state.
Okay,
Those are the ones that aren't finalized yet.
okay,
The hotel tax, the phone tax, meal tax, and, well, tangible is pretty consistent. And now motor vehicle is pretty consistent because they did away with the accelerator after they took our taxes.
okay.
No. But they did take away the accelerator. Yeah, so all those numbers are just their projections. I'll
Okay.
know more later.
Thank you.
I think the town receives 1%.
1%,
Yeah.
correct.
So we charge a tax at our
Yep.
hotel and it goes back to the town.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? All righty.
Oh, I want to tell you about this. I almost forgot. This is my favorite. So this is the general revenues. So I think I told you this before at the last first public hearing. In 2025, we went up 3%. If you continue at a 2% increase of the levy on the top there, in 2030, you'll see you need almost $10 million to maintain the budget in fund balance, you know, with everything going up about 4%, but revenue is only going up 2%. On the bottom half, where it says 4% levy increase, 2025 was 3%, and then if it goes up 4% all the way to 2030, you can see the difference where you don't need a fund balance anymore. Just want to show you how different a couple of percentages can make.
And as a reminder to everyone here, 4% is the max that is allowed.
It's correct, right. And
I know, I was going to say, this would be a good slide to also include. And I'm sure in your presentation, you're going to have a very thorough overview of everything, so this is great. It's also scary.
it's scary.
I mean,
Right,
it
right.
really
That's why I
is.
just.
This is probably what keeps most people up, and what likely will keep me up at night.
Yeah, and you know, for years it was 2.5%, so now it's, you know, somebody has to pay. But our rates are very low.
Yes.
Okay, so we already did questions. So next is the debt service. This is a very busy slide, but this just shows our outstanding debt balance as of 6/30/2025. It's about 23 million outstanding debt still. The payments in 2026, and then the total outstanding balance at 6/30/2026 will be about 20 million.
Is the retirement date of the bonds on there? I didn't see that.
No, that's a longer schedule. I do have that,
Yeah.
but the retirement dates aren't on there.
Yeah.
These, right now, goes out till 44, I believe. Some of these go out,
Right, that far,
Yeah.
the newer ones, yeah.
yeah.
I would
And these are just the notes and the loans. The $350,000 landfill close, that's going to be done. You can see at the end, outstanding balance is 0. And then the enterprise fund, wastewater, has that groin project that they're paying back. These are the debt service ratios or percentages that we're allowed by state law. You can see the general fund debt service to operating, we're allowed 7%. Right now, we're at 5.39. Outstanding principal debt to assessed valuations, you're allowed 2.5 as a max. We're at 0.28, so that's very good. General fund debt service to the maximum tax levy is 8%. We're at about 6.16. And outstanding governmental debt per capita is allowed a max of 2,500, and we're at 1,672. This is the road bond. So we issued 20 million last year, well, in 2022, that election, and we issued 2.4 already with that for roads and the infrastructure. So this is just the schedule going forward. Obviously, once these roads are done, we won't have any more money until 2027. That's what's planned. That doesn't have to be that way. I just want you guys to be aware that there's no new bond money for roads after this year.
Am I reading that correctly? Sorry. Because I see fiscal year 2025 is on the bottom of that list. Is that?
That's a typo. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
no, that's all
I
right.
appreciate you paying attention.
So we don't have any scheduled, well, I'm sure we have probably scheduled maintenance.
Yes.
For roads and replacement of roads, but we have not established a funding source, right?
Correct. We have those roads that we talked about with Darren that
Right.
are on the block right now,
For this year, yeah.
that Vinagro's taking care of this year. And then that will be it until 2027 when we go to bond again. So if you wanted to continue roads, you might want to move that to 2026.
Yeah, so next year, we'd have to start
That
thinking
should be in the
about
budget.
continuing that, right?
That would, yeah,
This is for the reconstruction, like,
Right,
right, total reconstruction,
not
right,
the
right.
maintenance, but yes, that's correct, Jim.
yeah.
I think they're on to phase 4 now.
So when we
or
did
something.
that as a town before, was that 20 years ago? Because I remember when they did that. Was it 30 years, 20?
2012, I think, maybe, that money is gone, right? So then they did it again in 2022.
Oh, they did?
We did another 20 million.
Oh,
But we authorized to go for a bond for 20 million, but we only do a little bit at a time.
yeah,
So we just did 2.4 and finished up 2.6 from the old one and 2.4 the new one. And then this is the balance of that 20 million
yeah,
spread out over a few years.
yeah.
So just
Yeah,
something to
we don't wanna-
consider.
We don't want to miss
And
that.
I got a little bit, yeah, more coming, so keep that in.
Oh, no, this was actually just in regards to this project. Is there a running list that the general
Yes.
public can see when it is that their street will be
I believe it's on our webpage, isn't it?
addressed?
It is on the town webpage.
Yeah,
Awesome, thank you.
yeah, I think, like I said, I think we're on phase 4. Phase 4, finishing 3D or something, and going on to phase 4. And then our consultants, Beta, they continually update and check roads over and get the next phase going. So it's a continual process. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Next is the pension and OPEB. So what I can say about this without really, without looking at the budget here, is that we continually make improvements with our funding status. In '23, we're at 71.4, and in 2024, we went up to 73.8. And that could have been higher, but we changed some of our assumptions and became more conservative. So we reduced our rate of return expectations down to 7%, which is more realistic and more in line with the rest of the world. The 166 pension is a closed police pension. There's only 9 people left in it that continue to get a payment. And obviously, that's at 93.7. So we're going to be watching that with our Janie Montgomery, to see if what we need to do going forward, so we don't keep putting money into it when we don't have to. So there's steps to be taken soon.
Good.
Next couple of years, probably. And then our other post-employment benefits, OPEB, that continues to increase in funding to 42.8 this year. We had a good year in investments.
That's good to know that, because, you know, the rest of the world did too, so you want to make sure that we did.
Yeah.
So that makes you feel good.
We did, we went up good. The actuarial determined contributions, that's what's recommended to catch up with the unfunded part of the pension funds. The town decreased the percentage for their required contribution to 41.2%. The police went down a little bit to 60.4. This is percent of salary, just so you know.
Thank you.
Yeah, the fire went up to 54.8% of salaries, and the library's at 39.7. So there was some change. Some people went up, but others went down.
So for every dollar
Every
the
dollar.
employee makes, 40% goes to their pension.
Correct.
And is it paid totally by the town, or is it their share?
No, it's either 11 or 10%,
Yeah,
depending. And the 40 doesn't go to that individual person's pension, whatever.
yeah, it goes to the
yeah,
fund, yeah.
it goes to the
So,
fund.
for like the library and the town, why would it go down? So, I mean, obviously, library is 2%, town's a little bit
There's
more.
a lot of factors.
Okay.
Younger people coming in, they're going to stay longer, they're going to live longer, mortality rates, payroll growth.
Their participation in the system is fairly recent, too.
Yeah.
So it's not as
Okay.
established as the others.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And this is done by Nyhart, our actuarial firm.
Oh, great.
Okay, so it's
Thank
not
you.
like me making,
No, I know. So you could.
oh, this is the OPEB. It went down by 2%. Again, this one for OPEB was mostly due to the good returns we had. For OPEB. Questions on those?
No, pretty good explanation of everything.
No, again, I think we saved like the best presenter for last, right?
You're too kind.
So, no, I think, again, I think you answered the questions really well, and the information that you shared is going to be tremendously helpful to the council as well as the public in anticipation of the first public hearing. And there's a little bit more.
Just a little bit more.
This is great.
This
It's
is
the
for you
gift
to
that just
think
keeps
about.
on
This
coming.
is your thinking. So these are your considerations,
good.
things to think about that we've talked about. We really haven't mentioned it, but I know it's on your agendas to think about, was the affordable housing. That's another bond that has been discussed, whether it gets issued or not. That is not in the budget, as well as road. They could be combined, but they're not. And they're also unbudgeted is the cost to go to bond. There's legal fees, ratings with S&P and whatever. So there's fees that go with going to bond.
Does that come out of the 3 million? Sorry, I'm just trying to understand how that works.
Oh, yeah, yes.
So it's like we get a
I
$3 million bond approved, but we're not actually going to get 3 million.
Right.
Okay.
And the
Well, we
probably,
might get more because there might be par, there's a lot of bond.
it's probably a lot of,
Moving pieces to bonds, yeah.
probably a lot of fixed costs too, like,
Yeah.
if you had a $30 million bond, the whole percentage of the overhead would be a lot less. With the $3 million bond, it's like,
Well, because you're paying the same thing.
Right.
You really pay the same thing. And then we have the school department. In our budget is 2.4. They requested 2.9. The affordable housing had a new request for the annual or an allocation of $50,000 to match what the land trust gets. So that's in addition and different than the bond, right? Sunset Farms, we talked about that. I have 20K, but we could do less than that. 20,000. We could do 10, and we'd just have to do 10 again in another couple of years. We could do 5, and then we'd have to do 5 again next year. I mean, it's...
Yeah, I think a lot of these, if there was, actually, no, keep going. I'm sorry.
Kenny Bungalow, they're really low on funds, so they're going to need an additional allocation. They don't really have a fund balance right now. So if we do go with HVAC, that'll be a discussion for another time, but we'll have to come up with some funding for that. Then there's the community development. Jill Sabo talked about the SNP grant that they want to put in for, and she had talked about a required match, and that was the $57,500, which isn't in the budget right now.
is that technology? Was that technology?
That's the Foddering Farm, the next step to Foddering Farm.
Oh, the causeway.
Causeway.
Yep. There's also that hot topic of the Narrow River dredging. That's nothing in the budget with that. And then obviously the road construction. Total transfers went up by 2.3%. The library's additional request for the $30,000 in capital, that is in the budget, but it's just something that needs to be considered. And the special appropriations, we had the $2,000 from Universal Juice, $5,000 from St. Peter's Community Market, and the additional request of $6,000 from the Historical Society. Almost done. These are the cuts from the town managers made on the capital improvement plans of $3 million. So it's just that's how much capital was cut. It was
Out of a total of,
out of the total. We usually can afford pretty regularly about 2 million, 2.5 million, but there were a lot of requests this year for over $5 million in requests, and we just don't have funding for that.
yep.
Sorry, was everything that was listed there what was cut?
cut,
Okay.
or move forward. It was
For this
cut from
year.
this year.
Right, yep.
Yeah, yeah,
See
Yeah.
it again.
exactly. I can get you a copy of these if you'd like. And these are just a snapshot of the transfers that I was talking about that went up a little bit, 2% or something. The school, obviously, the biggest at 74%, debt service at 9%, OPEB 7, capital 6, and then the rest is just minuscule, but that's a snapshot, and there's the amounts of the transfers that happen. I don't know if you want me to stay on that for a minute, or?
Yeah, I read the first line.
Okay.
That's all right. No, it's fine. I mean, it's
Well, you see
accounting.
the library, transfer, the land conservation trust, 50,000,
Yeah,
the 166 police pension, the 210 there, the transfer to the OPEB, the ADC,
yeah,
the towers.
yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
30 down the bottom is actually the library. I call it miscellaneous. Again, we don't want to mix it with their annual allocation, because that would increase the maintenance of effort. Any big retirements and terminations, we always put money aside for that.
So, and these are all transfers, so would like the special allocations be one of these, or is, because that's
No,
not,
that's
that's something
different
separate?
even.
Yeah, okay.
This is 1,900, and then the special allocations is 1,950 in the
yep.
complete budget.
Thank you. Is this the last slide? All right. So at this point in time, like during the normal proceedings of the workshops, do you provide a general figure of like the current worst case scenario if everything that was unbudgeted was now all of a sudden budgeted versus like different scenarios? And again, I don't want to drive you crazy, but like, or where it currently stands with everything that's unbudgeted out, what we're looking at, like a % increase versus last year?
Right, I think,
Or is that just going to come on May 5th?
Or is it like,
no,
just
I
like,
think,
is it-
like I
If everything,
kind of,
if everything that was cut is put back in, you'd have to go to the legislature to
yeah,
exceed
we
the
would need
4% cap. And
Well, yeah, no.
because it's 3
Yeah.
million was cut, right?
Yeah.
So you'd
Well,
have-
yeah, no, I'm not talking about like that. I'm talking about like as it stands with everything that was cut and the rest that's unbudgeted out, like where are we at right now? That's like a general question.
like what's the percentage?
Yeah, year over
I do
year.
have that, Hold on, hold the phone. Might take me a minute. So with everything as it is right now, it's a 3.06 increase to the general fund budget. That's with a 4% increase in the tax levy, with a tax rate of $6.79 for residentials, and that is a 3.66% increase in the tax rate
So that's your estimate now.
right now, as
Right
it
now.
stands, as presented.
All righty,
I mean,
thank you.
if you'd like me to look at something else to have ready for the next round.
I think, well, I mean, again, what would the recommendations be for going into the public hearing? I know that you've encouraged any town council member to reach out to you and Jim directly with any of these inquiries. Is there, and again, I don't know, I mean, you're capable of just about anything, it seems like, but if we would throw like some scenarios at you of, what would the budget look like if we were to add this in
Well,
or
usually-
not consider this? Like, how do we go about playing around with those?
Go ahead, you want?
You could just email Christine and I.
Yeah.
So that's
And,
what
but the sooner the better.
The sooner the better,
definitely.
yeah, because
Yeah.
it takes a little bit of time to change. It's not just one number somewhere, it
Yeah,
affects.
oh,
all
no,
the
definitely.
sheets.
I also can appreciate that if the state were to pass 2 hours before, how crazy that.
And they're
that's-
looking at, I don't know
get.
where it is, I didn't check, but they were looking at phasing out hotel tax, which would be about over $1 million cut
Yeah, if they phase it out.
if they phase
that'd
it
be a
out over
million from
4
our budget.
years, but still, it would be about $1 million.
I didn't hear that. They're
Yes.
thinking of phasing out the hotel tax? Yeah.
And-
So that would be what, 3.4% of so 4% is the top you can,
Tax levy increase.
right, and you said 3.6.
4% to the tax levy is what we have here, but the tax rate is only a 3.66
Oh,
increase.
the tax rate,
To the tax rate.
right. So what would be the levy?
The dollar amount?
Well, no, the percentage.
4.
Oh, it's the
Maxing
exact
it
It's,
out.
4?
it's 4, yeah.
Oh, it's that high.
Yeah.
So you really can't. It's not much you can ask for, Alex. You know
Well,
what
no, I
Like
mean,
this-
I think there's a difference of understanding of the tax levy versus the tax rate, I think.
Right, and the tax levy is what you can increase the
Right,
total tax revenue,
right.
right? Your net,
But it can't be more than 4%.
but it can't be more than 4%. There are some circumstances, but we don't
We wouldn't
qualify for any of
qualify.
those.
Yeah,
You
affordable
know,
housing
yeah.
or something like
And
that.
it has to be approved by the state. Like, just to think, a percent in the tax rate, in the levy, sorry, I stand corrected, is about 650,000. So if you went down to 3%, you take 650,000 off this budget. And to borrow, if you borrow 700,000 from fund balance, it's equal to about a percentage. So if you add 700 more into fund balance use, you're going to decrease your percentage by about 1%. And we're pretty good because we get good ratings with the bonds. We're AA plus.
That's good.
It is
That's-
good
that
for
it
New
really is
England
good. That
because
is
a lot
great.
of people in New England, very few get triple
Right,
A because it's small.
right. So, yeah,
Any other questions?
I don't want to ask it because I'm not sure if it's,
Well, no, that's all right. I mean, again, as Christine and Jim have pointed out, that, maybe with some additional time, we can figure out individually what additional
yeah,
questions we want to
yeah.
ask, so that way, on May 5th, if I got my date correct, going to be a busy night, is when we have our hearing on the town's budget.
Right, and I have
And
to have, the budget to
Yep.
Sarah so she can post it and all that.
So, just as a reminder to everyone on the town council and those town council members who may be watching this later, try to get these inquiries in ideally within the next week, so that we can give, if not sooner. So that way, that gives everyone enough time to follow up with the information and put together some hypothetical numbers. So, does that work? Awesome.
I want to say why the other member's not here.
No,
Okay.
no, that's all right. So, any other questions, comments? Well, a very heartfelt thank you to the extensive amount of work that goes into this. I know you only get to celebrate for a few minutes after every budget is passed because you then start planning the next. So your efforts don't go unnoticed, and we really appreciate everything that you do to support this town. So with that being said, our next meeting, our regular scheduled meeting, will be on Monday, April 21st, and the follow-up to the budget will be on May 5th. During the regular scheduled meeting? Yeah, okay. Excellent. So